Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and I'm going to be doing a Marincess deck profile. So I'm really excited to see you guys because this is actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Mimi. And this deck is an amazing water deck that can link climb into some really amazing monsters like Marincess Great Bubble Reef. This deck is super fun to be able to play with and just a really good deck. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name description in a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron, along with test hands. And definitely give Mimi some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such an awesome deck. So let's get straight on into this one, guys. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Marincess Blue Tang. This card is a great card and the best normal summon in the entire deck. With the ability, if this card is normal or special summon, you can send a Marincess monster from your deck to the graveyard, except another copy of itself. And if this card is sent to the graveyard as a link material for the link summon of a water monster, you can excavate the top 3 cards of your deck, and if you do, you get to add a excavated Marincess card to your hand and then shuffle the rest back in the deck. This card is basically a Foolish Burial and Pot of Duality all in one, which is a really incredible effect for a normal summon. We then play 3 copies of Marincess Pascalius. This card is a really good normal summon for the deck as well, because it has the ability, if this card is normal or special summon, you can special summon a Marincess monster from your hand in defense position, except another copy of itself. And then during the main phase, except a turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from the graveyard and then target a Marincess spell or trap in the grave and add it back to your hand, which is super good to be able to grab cards like Marincess Wave or Battle Ocean back from the graveyard if it goes to the grave. We then play 3 copies of Marincess Seahorse. Seahorse is usually the card you're going to be sending to the graveyard for your copy of Blue Tang's effect, because this card has the ability that you can special summon this card from your hand to a zone a Marincess link monster points to, and you can only special summon this card once per turn this way. And then during your main phase, except a turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from the graveyard to special summon a Marincess monster or a water monster from your hand to a zone a Marincess link monster points to, which is a really good effect to be able to just instantly get a monster on your side of the field. And this card is going to be the card you're going to send to the graveyard off of Blue Tang's effect, because then you can link summon into Blue Slug and grab it back from the graveyard to be able to then special summon it to go into another link monster, which is a really good effect for this card to have, which you guys will see in the test hands. We then play 2 copies of Marincess Mandarin. Mandarin is a good 2 of as well in the deck, because this card has the ability, if you control 2 or more Marincess monsters while this card is in your hand or grave, you can target a water link monster that you control and special summon this card to a zone that monster points to, but banish this card when it leaves the field. This card is a great extender for the deck, but I feel like 2 copies of it is totally fine. We then play 3 copies of Silent Sea Nettles. Nettles is a good 3 of in the deck because it helps us go in for Bahamut Shark, and it also has a really good effect that you can banish it from the graveyard and then target up to 3 water monsters in the graveyard and shuffle them back into the deck, which is super good in this deck to get some of your link monsters back into the extra deck. And also, if you control a water monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, but you can't special summon monsters except for water monsters for the rest of the turn, which is not that big of a deal because we're always going to be summoning water in this deck, which is a really awesome thing. We then play 3 copies of the Water Tenyi Spirit. This card is a good 3 of as well. It's a good starter for the deck because you can special summon this card to your side of the field if you don't control any effect monsters. So this card is always going to be the first card out of your hand to special summon it to your side of the field so you can make a rank 4 or link summon using this card. And this card is just a really good 3 of in the deck. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. This card basically makes it so your opponent can't touch the deck. So this card is a great 3 of hand trap for this build to basically stop the opponent from going in and searching the deck or special summoning from the deck or sending cards from deck to graveyard. Then we play 2 copies of Ghost Bell. Ghost Bell is just overall a really good hand trap right now. So I'm playing 2 copies of it in this build to be able to help out stopping your opponent from using card effects in the graveyard. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Monster Reborn. Monster Reborn is a great one of just to extend your plays so you can link climb into more monsters. Play a single copy of World Legacy Succession. This card is pretty much a second Monster Reborn for the deck because it lets you target a monster in your graveyard and special summon it to a zone a link monster points to. So this card is a great one of to be able to help you link climb even further with your monsters because you're always going to have a link monster on the field. We then play a single copy of Harpy's Feather Duster. This card is a great one of just to deal with your opponent's back row and an overall fantastic card in this deck to be able to just deal with your opponent's back row so you can go into some really good plays. Play a single copy of Marincess Battle Ocean. Battle Ocean is a crazy powerful field spell that has the ability that all Marincess monsters that you control gain 200 attack. Also, each one gains 600 attack for each Marincess card equipped to it. And monsters you control in the extra monster zone that were link summoned using Marincess Crystal Heart as a material are unaffected by your opponent's card effects. And when you link summon a Marincess monster to the extra monster zone, except during the damage step, you can equip up to 3 Marincess link monsters with different names from your graveyard to that monster, which is a really awesome effect because it's going to give that monster an additional 1800 attack points plus 200 attack points for the Battle Ocean for a grand total of around 2000 attack points, which is really good, especially since a lot of our monsters that are our boss monsters like Bubble Reef really benefit from getting those monsters attached to this card as equipped cards, which is just really, really nice. We then play 2 copies of Fury of Kyrushin. Fury of Kyrushin is a really, really good card in all water decks because it has the ability to add a torrential tribute from your deck to your hand, and if a water monster you control would be destroyed by card effect, then you can banish this card from your graveyard instead, protecting your monsters from being destroyed by torrential tribute, turning it into pretty much a Raigeki that's a trap card, which is really, really good in this deck. We then play 3 copies of Signet Mining. Signet Mining is really good in this deck because all of your Marincess monsters are actually Cyvers. So you can actually use this card to be able to send a monster or send any card from your hand to the graveyard to add a level 4 or lower Cyvers monster from your deck to your hand, which you're always going to be searching Blue Tang if you don't have it already in your hand with this card's effect because it's such a powerful card. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, which is just a really good hand trap overall to stop your opponent's monster effects. This card is a fantastic card in this deck, paired with your copies of Ash Blossom and all of the other cards we're playing in this build. We're playing 3 copies of Torrential Tribute, which is also a great card in this deck to be able to just board wipe your opponent and your cards, but it protects you with Fury of Kyrushin, so you don't have to destroy your cards with this card's effect, which is a really awesome thing for this card to be able to do. And then we play 3 copies of Marincess Wave. Marincess Wave is a crazy powerful trap card that has the ability, if you control a Marincess link monster, you can target one face-up monster opponent controls, negate that face-up monster's effects until the end of this turn. Then, if you control a link 2 or higher Marincess monster, all face-up monsters that you control are unaffected by your opponent's card effects until the end of this turn. And if you control a link 3 or higher Marincess monster, you can activate this card from the hand, turning this card into a hand trap, which is crazy powerful in this deck. This card is just so good in this deck to be able to search, and just a really powerful trap card for this build. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing a single copy of Marincess Great Bubble Reef, which is what we're usually link climbing into. It's overall a really good card in this deck because it has the ability to, once per turn, during each standby phase, you can banish a water monster from your graveyard or face up from field to draw a card. And each time a monster is banished face up, this card gains 600 attack points for each. And until the end of this turn, it gains those attack points, which is a really awesome thing for this card to be able to do, because paired with Battle Ocean, this card is going to come out with 4,600 attack points, and then when you banish a card off this card's effect, it's going to go to 52 and be unaffected by card effects, which is just really, really good. It also has the ability that you can send a water monster from your hand to the graveyard to special summon one of your banished Marincess monsters, which is really good because you're basically just setting up, when you banish for this card's effect, to be able to set up some cards like your Blue Tang to be able to be brought back with this card's effect. We then play a single copy of Marincess Wonderheart. This card is a good one of as well, well because it has the ability that once per battle, during damage calculation, if this card battles a monster, quick effect, you can special summon one of your Marincess monsters equipped to this card. Also, this card cannot be destroyed by battle, and you take no battle damage from battles involving this card. And also has the ability that the equipped monster that's special summoned by this card's effect is re-equipped to this card during the end phase. And if this card you control is in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can special summon one Link 3 or lower Marincess monster from the graveyard, which is really good that this card replaces itself. Usually I don't make this card quite as much as I make Bubble Reef, but it's still a good one-of for the extra deck. We then play a single copy of Marincess Marbled Rock. I really kind of want to play 2 copies of this card, but I found that one works best. It has the ability that you get to target one Marincess card in your graveyard, except another copy of itself, and add it back to your hand. You only use the effect of this card once per turn, and when an opponent's monster clears an attack, you can send one Marincess monster from your hand to the graveyard, and for that battle, that monster cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, you take no battle damage, which is pretty good to be able to use that card's effect with. We then play 2 copies of Coral Anemone. Coral Anemone is a great 2-of in this deck, and just a really powerful card because it has the ability that you get to target a water monster with 1500 or less attack in the grave and special summon it to a zone this card points to, which helps you link climb into copies of your Marbled Rock, which is just a really powerful card effect. Also, you can't special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except water monsters, which is not that big of a deal because all we're really summoning is water monsters in this deck anyways. It also has the ability that this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, then you can target a Marincess card in the graveyard except for the copy itself and add it back to your hand, and you only use each effect this card once per turn. This card is basically a monster reborn, and it grabs a card back when it's used as link material, which is really good. We then play a single copy of Crystal Heart because it works really good with Battle Ocean to be able to make your cards unaffected. This card is just a really good one-of, and it just is really good to be able to use this card to link climb into other monsters. We then play 2 copies of Blue Slug. Blue Slug is the card you're going to usually link summon into first because you're going to normal summon out your copy of Blue Tang to your side of the field, link summon that card away after you send your Seahorse to the graveyard into this card, and then use this card to grab back your copy of Seahorse to be able to help you link climb even further, because this card has the ability, if this card is link summon, you can target a Marincess monster in the graveyard and add it back to your hand, but it does lock you into water monsters, which is again not that big of a deal because you're going to be summoning water all the time in this deck anyways. We then play a single copy of Sea Angel. Sea Angel is good as a one-of because this card searches Battle Ocean, which is just really good for this deck. We then play a single copy of Splash Mage. Splash Mage is a good card to help you link climb because you can target a Cyverse monster in the grave and special summon it in defense position, but its effects are negated, which is just a really good card effect to be able to just bring a monster back, kind of like Coral Anemone. We then play a single copy of Transcode Talker. Transcode Talker is a good one-of in this deck. I don't use it all that often, but it's still a really good one-of to help us link climb. We then play a single copy of Access Code Talker because it's pretty easy to make as long as you don't lock yourself into water. It's a good card to make late game to be able to pop cards on the field, but you don't have to play this card in this deck if you don't want to. You can play another Marincess card, like another copy of Marbled Rock if you're looking for another budget option. We then play a single copy of Abyss Dweller because it can lock down the graveyard and makes our water monsters go up by 500 attack points, which is really good in this deck. One copy of Bahamut Shark so we can make Totally Awesome, and then finally a single copy of Totally Awesome because Totally Awesome is a walking negate and really easy to make and just a powerful card in this deck. So anyways guys, that's it for the deck guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really fun deck to play with. It's super cool to be able to just play around with Marincesses because they're just a really powerful deck, especially being able to use Battle Ocean and just being so consistent for a Cyverse deck with access to cards like Cynet Mining. It's just super consistent. So anyways guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later guys.